Business Access TV is here at the JSC Core Competencies to Excel as a Corporate Secretary. I'm your host, Andrew Laidley. Please stay with us.
I wish to welcome you to yet another workshop, Corporate Secretaries Workshop. As you know, we have these workshops each year, and the reason we continue to do so is that we feel that we should be at the cutting edge of any changes that is occurring in whether locally or globally. We feel that the workshops have been beneficial to us so far, and that with each day when we have these changes, we should continue to look at educating the persons in this industry. This morning and this workshop is very special, as we will be hosting, it is being hosted in association with the Institute of Chartered Secretaries and Administrators. And as we move towards introducing the Corporate Governance Index, I think today is especially important so that we can see how this can be incorporated into what we do as company secretaries and others within the industry. It is especially important that we look at this to see how our companies will score higher in terms of corporate governance. Today is intended to be a very good workshop based on the persons who will be presenting. So I invite you to stay tuned, ask the relevant questions, and ensure that when we leave here, we can implement what we have learned.
The Institute of Chartered Secretaries and Administrators is an institution that certifies secretaries, chartered secretaries, and I believe it is the only institution in the world that does that. It's incorporated by Royal Charter and has its base in England, London, England. And our dear leader, Simon Osborne, is the CEO of the Institute of Chartered Secretaries. In Jamaica, we have the Association of Chartered Secretaries and Administrators, which is a branch of the Institute of Chartered Secretaries. Today, we are very happy to be hosting this seminar with the Jamaica Stock Exchange, and I hope that what we present today, you might find something to take away from it, because we are going to try to give you something practical that you can use in your everyday life.
Governance has to suit each jurisdiction. One size cannot fit all. Even within a peer group of companies engaged in similar activities, similar business, because the dynamic is going to be different, because the business conditions are going to be different, the governance framework will necessarily be different. And as you comply or explain, also within a peer group of companies doing the same, broadly the same activity, you will find that they comply in different ways. And that's the beauty of a code of principles. So what do we mean by governance? The Cadbury definition, the process by which an organization is directed or controlled. The other perceived virtue of corporate governance on the part of politicians and policymakers is that it leads to increased opportunities and choice for all. Now that's one of those wonderful glib expressions that rolls off the tongue of a politician. And it sounds wonderful, doesn't it? But what on earth does it mean? As a political aspiration, it's great. Opportunities and choice for all. Hurrah, yeah, we'll all vote for that. But can we really expect corporate governance to deliver such an overtly political objective? I'll leave that one hanging in the air. Poor old Bob Diamond, he gets a bit of a caning over this one. He did actually say that corporate governance is not how you behave when you think no one is watching. He did actually say that. But I think it's a good reminder that, there's no point trying to do one thing, say one thing and do another. That sort of hypocrisy, you'll get found out eventually. The truth will always out. Governance is concerned with the exercise of power, the role of directors, the responsibilities of shareholders, and how those are balanced. And it also deals with disclosure, transparency, accountability, internal control, and making sure you avoid that concentration of power in too few hands. Hence the desire, it's now become standard, certainly in the UK. America's finding it harder, but actually separating the roles of chairman and chief executive so that you achieve a more constructive tension at the top levels in the C-suite. What are some of the governance hot topics? Well, I don't know what it's like here, but remuneration in the UK never ceases to amaze me. I mean, and the way in which non-executive directors serving on remuneration committees aren't smelling the coffee, I just don't get it. But and the United States is just as bad. And what that is leading to is remuneration which is detached from performance, or levels of remuneration detached from performance, are just leading to increasing inequality of wealth. And I think that could lead to unfortunate consequences socially. And it's something that has to be tackled. Hot topic. Legal risk has risen up the scale of corporate risks. The whole board diversity thing. Gender is a major factor. But there is no doubt about it, board behaviour improves the more women join the board. And I know that from my own experience, funny enough, in a charity where I was deputy chair and I chaired the nomination committee. And I had to wield the knife. I removed 6 older male trustees, brought in 4 ladies, all of whom were younger. The average age came down. The speed with which business was transacted improved. Shorter board meetings, I'll drink to that. Made a difference. Now that's one example, but I think there's no doubt about it that I think the presence of women in boardrooms adds beneficially to the decision-making process. You've got the whole responsible capitalism issue, the managing of stakeholders and accountability to wider stakeholders. And that, interestingly, has led to the appointment of a committee now for a code of governance for private companies. I think that's long overdue in the UK. When you think about some of the bigger private companies, and I'm sure you've got them here, if one of those collapses, the impact on the economy and on the government could be significant. And then the whole question of board evaluations. Following the financial crisis, ICSA did some work on boardroom behaviours, the conclusion of which were 4 uncomfortable truths. Well-run companies can make strategic and sometimes catastrophic misjudgments. Risk management not properly overseen, monitored or reviewed by the board. Often it was just left to the audit committee. It's a board responsibility, is oversight of risk. Remuneration and incentivization not aligned with shareholders' interests, and a failure to inform stakeholders, not just shareholders, stakeholders, sufficiently. That work we did identified 3 areas needing attention. Institutional. Are corporate governance policies and architecture fit for purpose? Has management installed adequate processes and systems? And are directors exhibiting appropriate behaviours? So we had there the institutional, the organisational, and the behavioural. Now, we identified in that work that good practice boardroom behaviour was characterised by those 9 features. So clear understanding of the board's role. The board is there to oversee the management of the business. The board is not there to manage the business. And non-executive directors forget it's a case of noses in, fingers out. They smell the state of the business, they don't finger it. Does this business pass the smell test? Once the non-executive directors start interfering in the management of the business, it's very hard to hold an executive to account. You can't. You've syndicated the responsibility and the liability. Appropriate deployment of knowledge, skills, experience and judgment. So what balance of those have you got on the board? Independent thinking. Assumptions and established orthodoxy need to be questioned. Challenge has to be constructive. If people come onto a board full of suspicion or just trying to show off what a tough guy I am, I'll show these executives up for a load of incompetent idiots. If that's the mentality which a non-executive has, they're asking for trouble, because it will just lead to tension, in fact conflict on the board. Non-executive directors have to be constructive friends of the management team. Can't overemphasize that. Constructive friends. Yes, and it's knowing how to challenge in a way which doesn't put people's backs up. And it requires a skill, emotional intelligence for a start. Yes, there has to be rigorous debate. The decision-making environment has to be supportive. There needs to be a shared vision. And for the chair, it's vital to close each item of business in a timely way, not let it go round and round and round ad nauseam. That's not the way to do it.
We go to a short break. More when we return.
Doggin Global Introduction. Doggin Global is an integrated multidisciplinary professional service firm. We are integrated as one firm and provide several professional services, including audit, accounting, tax, IT, risk, HR, performance, M&A, corporate recovery, and other advisory services. The firm is organized in several professional service units, which includes Doggin Auditors, Doggin Advisors, Doggin Legal, Doggin Finance, Doggin HR Solutions, Doggin Tech Solutions, Doggin Media, Doggin Corporate Secretarial. If you are interested in any of our services, please contact us for a free quote. Email info@doggin.global. Website doggin.global.
Welcome back to BATV's coverage of the JSE core competencies to excel as a corporate secretary.
We are now going to have a panel discussion, as you will see, and members of the local chapter will be participating, and Mrs. Henry Pottinger is going to be the moderator, and they're going to be talking about things that happen in a very practical way.
How rewarding is your job as a company secretary? Any tips that you can give to budding company secretaries, people who are waiting in the wings to take over your jobs? For me, I enjoy my job. I will not work anywhere else until I retire than with KPMG. As to rewarding, yes, it is rewarding in many respects. I like to see that the people who I work with, they are enabled, they are eloquent, they can answer questions from shareholders, they deal with matters like that with alacrity, and they're very responsive.
It's not glamorous in the sense that if the reward you're looking for is your name in lights, it's clearly the wrong profession for you. So I'm glad that Liz actually said the word enable, because you are an enabler. You're a facilitator. You know, we all understand, certainly after listening to Simon this morning, the importance of corporate governance. Well, all of that falls on your shoulders for you to administer. You pull it together. You keep all the moving pieces going in unison, and you don't, there will be no name in lights, certainly not where I operate for that. So if that's what you, but it can be, obviously it's very rewarding in other ways. just in terms of tips, I can't stress enough. Well, there are two main things I'll say. One is that just you have to have a high level of administrative capability, and and obviously you can't do it on your own. So whether it means an internal team or going for external support, you have to be extremely organized, and you have to make sure that you create a lot of systems which allow you to ensure that you comply with all the requirements that you have, which are numerous. Other than that, I can't stress enough the importance of what we keep calling soft skills, but they're not soft at all because they're critical for the role. Definitely, there's a higher level of judgment and diplomacy and management of relationships of people which is involved. We talked a little bit earlier about the relationship the tension between management and the board, which can sometimes exist. And in that case, your role is critical because you really are the diplomat who has to kind of navigate those two relationships and those two different sets of roles within a company. So that I can't stress enough how important it is to make sure that you develop your relationships and that you manage personalities.
I recall some years ago I did a document for my chairman, and I went to him and I'm explaining to him what it is that I'm doing and what it is that he needs. He says to me, where I must sign. So it gives you that level of confidence and trust, and to ensure that what you're doing and what you're presenting is correct. And you must build up that whole self-integrity so that, it is not questioned. And I feel that if I have to take something to somebody and they ask me, so where is this or what is that? I do my own self-assessment, because when I do a document, it says where, what, when, why, who, and so forth. So I ask myself those questions so that, you can develop that trust when you're working with somebody.
The job is really very, very interesting. The things that come across your desk are amazing, dynamic, invigorating, challenging. Scope is very, very diverse. Corporate governance has really taken its hold, on Jamaica and within the Caribbean. There is just so much that we have to learn and offer to our clients and to ourselves. Certainly, if someone is looking at this as a profession, I think corporate governance is the way to go. That's just me personally. You'll always assist and help your clients, but there's always a nuance on what has occurred, what should have been done, and how we're going to correct it. And that's what I love about it. And working with PwC and my team, we have just so much to do. You've got to be very structured, lists, and more lists. You have to be very detail-oriented and be able to pick up, and very meticulous, and be able to pick up errors very easily.
In my role as a corporate secretary, the reward for me is I am constantly learning. Every day there is something that I didn't know, or something now that I have to go and know. And it is no 2 days are ever the same. Especially in our company, which we tend to be very entrepreneurial, the ideas come, and as a company secretary and as compliance, I have to research to say, can it be done? Can it not be done? Would this be in breach of anything? I would also advise that the regulators are good allies. From where I sit, I call them a lot because I need their guidance. They are more intimate with the laws and regulations and how they interpret what I am asking them to just bounce things off. So I would ask you to use them up. The company's office, the stock exchange, the Bank of Jamaica, the FSC, they're all very open to questions. No one has said no to me yet. Even if they don't know the answer, they'll research it and get back to us. And our real success lies in having a great team behind us, including KPMG.
Thank you.
And our team in DOMREP, Trinidad and Jamaica, that supports me because we just could not do it alone.
Thanks a lot, ladies. I hope then that those of you in the audience found something informative, instructive, that you can take away from this panel discussion.
Coming up after the break, what companies need to know about the Corporate Governance Index.
Your business matters. Business Access TV offers you the most innovative and effective advertising solution for your business, specializing in B2B sales, cost-effective solutions, the customers you want, the repetition you need. No matter the size and nature of your company, your business matters.
Call us at 876-291-6233 or 876-376-4225. Email sales@batvja.com.
Hi, it's Novia MacDonald-White, Senior Associate Editor at the Jamaica Observer. And guess what? You are watching Business Access Television.
Welcome back to BATV's coverage of the JSE core competencies to excel as a corporate secretary.
So what is this corporate governance index that we have been talking about? And it really is a tool that has been developed to measure how all entities that are listed, at least surely for us listed on the stock exchange, how it conforms to various established corporate governance principles. Now, typically, the index has a numerical value, right, where the extremes of the values are overall good and poor. And also, it assists in improving the transparency and ultimately FDI for countries. Because research has shown that countries and surely listed companies, like using the stock exchanges that have a corporate governance index, especially when there's not very strong regulatory environment for them to operate within, the corporate governance index has actually helped to create greater investment opportunities. And what the research has shown is that countries with the indices have shown significant growth in corporate governance practices. So let's talk a little about the corporate governance index in Jamaica. And the index has been developed by the Jamaica Stock Exchange. As I indicated before, it's the first for the Caribbean region. The process that is being utilized is that it's going to be automatic, so that whether you're listed on the junior market or you're listed on the main market, you are going to be assessed using the index manual. So the purpose of the index, as stated by the Jamaica Stock Exchange, is to first of all periodically measure listed companies' conformance to required corporate governance principles and practices. It also should help to give companies an opportunity to differentiate themselves from other companies, because while all companies are listed and expected to be guided by certain principles and certain rules and certain legislations, you can differentiate yourself by the score that you probably will get based on the fact that you are adhering to a number of these principles. It will also provide a benchmark by which other parties, external parties, locally and internationally now, can gauge companies' adherence to corporate governance practices.
Every year, we have a workshop for the corporate secretary because we realize that they are an integral part of the corporate governance and effectiveness of publicly listed companies, whether it's on the junior exchange or the big board. And we were fortunate in that the head of the Institute of Chartered Secretaries and Administrators of the UK was coming on a visit to Jamaica to meet with the Jamaica Stock Exchange, because we are in the process of representing them in providing training and continuing development for corporate secretaries, persons who want to be corporate secretaries, and as a matter of fact, there is an upcoming fast track that's going to be available for attorneys and chartered accountants who invariably are performing the duties of the chartered secretary, and what it will allow them to do is to have the formal chartered secretary designation. So we felt that this was very important to continue to lift the profile of the chartered secretary and their role in listed companies.
I thought the conference was excellent, actually. The seminar was excellent. It touched on very important aspects that are critical for the development of our businesses within Jamaica and internationally, and for our companies, concentrating on corporate governance and the amendments that have just occurred in the Companies Act and why corporate governance is so important. So I encourage everyone to be at the next seminar.
The governance is here to stay. There's no doubt about that. And it's the proportionate application of governance principles which is so important in all types of organisation. But in order to be able to do that, every organisation needs to be clear about its organisational purpose. Then the board, the directors, need to be clear about the key values by which that purpose is going to be delivered. Only then can you devise a governance framework for your particular type of organisation. Every organisation, however big, however small, needs to do that.
Who does corporate governance benefit again?
Obviously, it benefits the companies themselves, it benefits their shareholders as the owners, or if it's an unincorporated body, the members. But it also benefits wider society. I think that's the important point. Their employees, those with whom they do business, and ultimately it benefits the government, because if an enterprise fails and is employing people and it fails because of poor governance practices, the ultimate responsibility financially was going to fall on the government, for example in social security payouts for unemployed people. I think also if companies fail because of poor governance, it doesn't reflect well on the country. And for a country that is trying to entice inward investment, if the governance framework isn't up to snuff, as we say, then that could have a potentially negative effect. So good governance, it just makes sense. There's plenty of anecdotal evidence too that good governance enhances reputation. It also, for organisations, particularly commercial ones, reduces the cost of capital. It just makes sense.
That's it from us here at the JSC Core Competencies to Excel as a Corporate Secretary. I've been your host, Andrew Laidley, and thanks for tuning in to Business Access TV. Serious about business.
Your weekly dose of information on nutrition, wellness, and fitness. Discover ways to nurture your mind, body, and spirit.
My name is Herbert Chung, Executive Chairman, Co-Founder, Honeybun 1982 Limited. You're watching Business Access TV. Serious about business.
According to Booker T. Washington, success is to be measured not so much by the position that one has reached in life as by the obstacles which he has overcome while trying to succeed. You have so much more to achieve. Don't limit yourself to your current situation. Welcome to Jamaica Magazine. I'm Adrian Atkinson. We have an interesting show lined up just for you as we tackle matters relating to the plastic ban and apiculture. You don't want to miss a minute, so stay tuned. Reggae Month 2020 is here and a host of activities are in store across the island. Echoes of sound systems, Reggae Wednesdays, Reggae Gospel Concert, Bob Marley's 75th birthday celebrations, Doria Honours Award, Reggae Film in the Park, Children of the Icon Store concert and more. Keep up to date on all the activities. Download the new Reggae Month mobile app. Simply search the words Reggae Month Jamaica in the Google Play or App Store. The app will also allow you to add and promote your own Reggae Month activity. So what are you waiting for? Download away and make use of this innovative technology today. Reggae Month 2020. Come catch the rhythm. Government has embarked on the second phase of the plastic ban, barring the local manufacture, distribution, and use of expanded polystyrene foam products used in the food and beverage industry. Get the Facts is next with more information as we adjust to the changes.
Welcome to Get the Facts, the program that provides you with information on government's policies and initiatives. I'm your host, Enthros Campbell. The government has embarked on the second phase of the plastic ban, prohibiting manufacture, distribution, and use of expanding polystyrene foam products. In this edition of Get the Facts, we are joined by Olivia Anderson, Manager, Public Education and Corporate Communication at the National Environment and Planning Agency, NEPA. She will be answering your questions on this initiative. Ms. Anderson, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
So good to have you on set. Now, so the ban is now in its second phase, yes? Tell us about the first phase. How did that go?
Well, on September 17th, 2018, the minister made an announcement to implement a ban on 3 items: single-use plastic bags, plastic drinking straws, and the importation of expanded polystyrene foam. So that was phase 1. In terms of phase 1, the response has been good so far. Even walking the streets, we see more people with their tote bags, persons walking out of the supermarket with their items in their hand if they forgot. Initially, we as Jamaicans, there was some trepidation, but I can see that we have gotten more used to this new plastic-free Jamaica.
Right. Have you noticed any impact? I know it's early days yet, but the impact on the environment?
Well, recently, the Jamaica Environment Trust-led International Coastal Cleanup Day, the results were released roughly a week or so ago. And one of the things that we noticed is that there was some reduction in terms of some of the items that was banned. So we're seeing incremental impact, but we're not seeing the big shift. And we believe that this will take a lot more time.
Yes. So what's the next step?
In terms of the next step, we're currently in phase 2, where we're phasing out expanded polystyrene foam, which some people commonly call styrofoam.
Okay.
So in terms of where that is concerned, we want persons to make the transition to reusable, to even bring in their own containers and to find recyclable alternatives. So that is where we are.
So what kind of help are you giving to persons who will need alternative products?
Well, one of the things that the government has done in their research, they have gone out to the market to see, where the alternatives are across the island. And that is one of the reasons why we're proceeding with phase 2. So we're so confident that the industry has reacted sufficiently well. And Savlamar to St. Thomas, we know that there are alternatives available.
Okay, so is there any help?
One of the things that was extended for businesses when the ban was announced in 2018 was a facility with the DBJ, the Development Bank of Jamaica, and that is available to businesses who are retooling. So that is in terms of the help so far.
Right. Do you have anything else in place that is to assist with the whole cleaning up of the country?
All right, so we rely heavily on the NSWMA, and there's also a project that we're working on called the Plastic Waste Minimization Project. And 2 key parameters of that project, we're doing a pilot project in Raytown that is on your way to the airport side. So in Raytown, we're looking to get the behavior change. And once we pilot that project, we want to get more Jamaicans on board. And even at NEPA, we have a Green Business Initiative program where we're helping businesses to green their operations from in terms of energy savings where plastic consumption is concerned. So those are some of the initiatives. And under the plastic waste minimization project, we're doing a regulatory impact assessment to basically track how the ban has been going to date.
Right. Talk to us about that project to get behavior change. Who you're targeting Raytown first, you're saying?
Right, that's
Yes.
under the plastic waste minimization
Right.
project. But largely what the campaign that we have been pushing is Plastic Free Jamaica. We have gone to the highways and the byways. We've gone to town centers, communities, and we're engaging persons one-on-one in terms of how they feel about the ban. We're even introducing them to the alternatives. So you would see us walking and say, this is something that we could use, helping them to find that. So Plastic Free Jamaica and Plastic Waste Minimization Project are two of the initiatives that we're working on.
What's kind of feedback are you getting? Are people liking it? They really want to go with it?
The feedback has been relatively good, but we've also had some persons who they feel as if they have been displaced, but we've used it as an opportunity to reassure them and to point them into the direction of where the alternatives are. Some of the feedback that we've gotten from persons of all ages is, we should have done this a long time ago. We should have done this. We've taken too long because this is something that's coming from 2016. And in terms of others, we're getting feedback in terms of the alternatives, and that is where we've really focused a lot of our energy into pointing persons to where the alternatives are.
Where are they?
Well, the alternatives are readily available. They're in supermarkets, they're in haberdashery wholesales, and they're even importers who are bringing in. And the plastic ban has opened up opportunities for even local businesses. We see businesses, even where the straws are concerned, are making bamboo straws. We see businesses, that eco-friendly business is popping up to supplement the need for the ban. So the ban has provided an opportunity for those players.
Right. Are you thinking about plastic as in bottles too?
Plastic bottles is one of the critical parts of the announcement. And in terms of the government's plan, that is involved in a deposit refund scheme that is being handled by the Recycling Partners of Jamaica. And the initiative was officially launched in September 2019. One of the things that has already occurred was that on plastic bottles, a $1 cess has been put in from the manufacturer side. So each manufacturer will pay $1 per bottle. And that is going to give the Recycling Partners of Jamaica the resources to expand their network. And currently they have 18 drop-off locations. And I encourage the viewers to visit their website and to call them to find out where they could drop off their plastic bottles.
Those websites again? Where?
Recycling Partners of Jamaica.
Right, okay.
So the deposit refund scheme, we want to get to the place on which the deposit refund scheme was built, where we have persons, you getting a dollar value per bottle. But we're not quite there yet, but we're taking the steps, and that is something on the agenda.
Yes, because in the past with the bottles, we're usually able to take back our bottles and get money for it, right? So you're heading there.
That is exactly where we're going.
Yes, okay. All right, we take a break now. When we come back with more discussion on the Plastic Ban Initiative. Stay with us.
Keep we island clean, so clean. From the peaks to the beach, so clean. No dirty up Jamaica, please don't do it. Keep we island clean, so clean. From the peaks to the beach, so clean. No dirty up Jamaica, please don't do it.
No dash, no paper, no dash, no plastic. Dispose your garbage responsibly. No know how to recycle, learn it quick. And if you drop it, better pick up every piece of it. Plastics last forever, don't forget the bits. Cause when them touch the street, them end up in the sea. Collect pan the reef where they fish them feed. And when you want seafood, I eat your
Keep
eat.
the island clean, so clean. From the peaks to the beach, so clean. No dirty up Jamaica, please don't do it. No dirty up Jamaica, no dirty up Jamaica, no dirty up Jamaica, no dirty up Jamaica.
Welcome back to Get the Facts. We continue our discussion with Olivia Anderson, Manager, Public Education and Corporate Communication at NEPA. Right, so talk to us a little bit more about the projects for enforcement.
All right, so where enforcement is concerned, rather, we want Jamaicans to get on board and to comply voluntarily. So one of the things that we have done when we started was we went around the country, and instead of serving people up front and taking it to the courts, we gave them warning notices. We confiscated some of the banned items, and we did that for several businesses. However, we had to take it a step further because later in the year we realized that some persons were and businesses were not complying even after being warned and given what we would say a ticket. So we had to go back and serve those businesses, and today we have served 36 and 19 matters have been heard in parish courts across the island, with our most recent 12 defendants in St. James, in Western Jamaica rather. So we are making good strides. So that brings us to 19, and of the 36 we have one that is going through appeal, and we also have a total of 19 that we have already received judgment from the parish judges on.
Right, so who can be fined? We're asking people not to manufacture these items. But say I go to the store and I buy something and they give me in this banned item. I can be prosecuted?
What we want persons to do, if you go to the store and you get it, report it to us. The emphasis on the ban in terms of how the legislation, and there are two prohibition orders, one under the Trade Act and one under the Natural Resources Conservation Authority, NRC Act. And in terms of how the legislation was drafted, we're not targeting you, the supermarket shopper. We're targeting the supermarkets, we're targeting the wholesales, we're targeting the restaurant owners, because what we want to do is to get the banned items out of the supply chain. We want you to refuse, but we don't want you to have as much, we don't want to make the banned items available to you as much as is possible. Okay. So in terms of those who we have prosecuted, the information has to do with the importation. We haven't prosecuted anyone for importation, and I must use this opportunity to commend the Jamaica Customs Agency, who's been doing an excellent job where border protection is concerned. And then on the ground, we've been working closely with the National Compliance and Regulatory Authority, as well as the security forces, to go in and to get these convictions. We want Jamaicans to comply. We want businesses to comply. We even set up a hotline, and the number is 876-285-8531, and an email address, which is policyonplasticban@nepa.gov.gm, so that individuals, businesses, companies can always reach out to us and get some clarification. One of the things that the government has also put in place is that at the Bureau of Standards Packaging Laboratory, you can get items tested to see whether they fall into the banned items. So there have been mechanisms that have been put in place for persons who are uncertain of whether their items are banned.
Okay. All right, so how do you know that people don't have leftover items?
One of the things that we had asked for was for a declaration. Yes. That was something that we had asked for earlier on. And one of the things in 2019 was that an initial grace period was given until roughly mid-February, end of February in 2019 for persons who had their stocks to deplete. So while we have implemented the ban, we have not taken a draconian measure. We want Jamaicans to feel the importance and to understand that what we're doing, we're not doing it to be harsh on them, but we're doing it to protect for all of us.
Absolutely. Right, to protect us. Let's talk about climate change and the relationship with plastic.
You know, plastic, there is a study that I would encourage any Jamaican to go and have a look at, and the United Nations Environment Program, it's called Plastic: A Roadmap to Sustainability, and that is where we want to go, sustainability. We want all of our natural resources to be here for our future generations. When we think about plastics, we think about, in terms of our waste management system, the impact that it has, because you have some plastics that takes 500 to 1,000 years to break down. Can you imagine where we're going to store those items? And even if they're in the soil or if they're in a landfill, it's still going to pose a challenge. Soil pollution is also a concern because there are chemicals that are used to make these items, and these can sometimes leach into the soil. And even for those that break down, they break down into something we call microplastics, and there have been several studies to indicate how microplastics have been entering into the food chain. So, you know, my CEO would normally say, you know, one time you used to bring home the fish in a bag, but now you're bringing home the bag in the fish. And we see that the plastics are also impacting on our wildlife, not only fish, but even our turtles, and they're ingesting it. We saw the story internationally of the whale that had tons of plastics in its gut. It died of hunger. So it has a far-reaching implication. It blocks our drains, it blocks our waterways, and if you've ever been, and I'm sure GIS has been, to International Coastal Cleanup Day, we can see firsthand the impact.
Yes, definitely. We have. So we're in phase 2, and there's a phase 3. Yes.
Absolutely.
How's that going? And tell us about that.
Phase 2, we're in continuous dialogue with the manufacturing sector and in terms of the businesses who have come out in support as well. One of the things that we're putting in place is we're reminding businesses in terms of this third phase, one of the straws that are attached to Tetra Pak pouches, to juice pouches. I won't call some of the names, but we know for the small children that they use, those will be banned come 2021. And in terms of the size of the bag will remain the same, but the thickness will increase. So in terms of how that looks, the ban in the first phase targeted bags 1.2 mils, and 1.2 mils is a little technical, but 1.2 mils is thinking of your regular scandal bag. Yes. And then now we know that we go to some bookshops or we get the nice gift bags. We're going up to those sizes. So we're doing it incrementally because we want Jamaicans to make the switch over time.
Okay, good. As we wrap, just your message to Jamaica as it relates to this ban. Try to encourage us how, to really support the band.
You know, we say that we're Jamaica, land of wood and water, and we think about how long plastic takes to break down. We want to have Jamaica, land of wood, water and air for our future generations, and we can only do that by having a plastic-free Jamaica. We also want Jamaicans to see the opportunities that the plastic ban has come. So we want for you to preserve our land by supporting the plastic ban.
Very good. Thank you so very much.
Thank you for having me.
Useful information. Mm-hmm. This has been Get the Facts. Our guest was Olivia Anderson, Manager, Public Education and Corporate Communication at NEPA. We urge you to continue recycling and stop using plastic items that have been banned. Keep our country clean. Until next time, when Get the Facts brings you another informative discussion, I'm Rose Campbell. Do take good care.
Apiculture in Jamaica is big business, and farmers have been experiencing lots of success over the years. Grab your pen, pencils, and paper to get all you need to know about participating in this growing industry.
Apiculture is an art and it's a science. And it's an art and science of managing bees. So everything that we do in the hive, everything that is happening in the hive is very scientific. And as beekeepers, we craft the way how we manage the bees. So every beekeeper that you speak to, they will have a different approach to different aspects of beekeeping.
Given that the importation of honey into Jamaica is restricted, you can only imagine what big business beekeeping is for our farmers. They have expanded from just providing honey for citizens and have moved on to creating many different byproducts. But have you ever wondered how you can get involved and have your share of the sweetness?
For you to be a beekeeper, you have to develop certain comfort in dealing with this thing, which is not a maybe when you're a beekeeper in Jamaica. It is a must. So every time you get a sting, it becomes irritating to you. But then because we love what we're doing, we don't pay much attention to the irritating part. We're more focused on what we're doing, and we know that at the end of the day, we're going to get honey. And when we get honey, we can convert that to money. So for us in St. Thomas, from time to time, we have projects. And quite a few of the persons in St. Thomas who are beekeepers, they start out benefiting from projects that would have beekeeping components. So training is critical, because then you have to know how to navigate your way through an environment that is challenging to allow you to harvest honey and to make a livelihood from beekeeping. I would advise anybody who would like to make their own box to purchase a box to start with, or you borrow a properly made box, because the bees are very scientific. They're very specific in terms of the design of the space that they occupy. And if you make a mistake and where you're supposed to have 3/8 of an inch or 1/4 inch, you put 1/2 inch, or you put less than 1/4 inch, then you're going to have problem as a beekeeper. So a beekeeper has to be knowledgeable about what is normal in the hive. So I tell people that when you come into the apiary, there's a normal sound. And if you listen, you hear a hum. When I hear that as a beekeeper, I know that they're finding food out there. They're finding nectar, they're finding pollen, and so on, when I hear this hum. When you go into the hive, there are many things in there that you have to observe. Right? You have to observe the condition of the comb, whether the combs are, I always say, old and crystallized, because once they get old and crystallized, you want to get rid of those combs. You want to look at the color of the brood. When we say the brood, we're talking about from the larval stage now to when they get to the pupal stage. You want to observe that, because there's a normal way that they should look, and there's an abnormal way when something is going wrong that they would look differently. You want to observe the queen and the condition of the queen as expressed in the amount of eggs that are laid, as expressed by the amount of seal brood that you see. Right? In the bee yard, you want to be observant of everything. I usually tell trainees that when you come into the bee yard or into the apiary, you have to look around at the trees and the shrubs around, because there might be a swarm that is lingering. That swarm might have taken place in your absence. Might even be the very morning before you come to the apiary. You have to observe and see if any of that is there, because if you let that swarm escape, then you're looking at some dollars and some of your profitability that is going down the drain. You want to be able to have a bee yard that is not necessarily sterile, but clean enough that if you have dead bees around, you can see them on the ground. If you have bees that have been affected by the varroa mite and they are suffering from viral attack, there's a virus that they call the wing curl virus. Those bees, when they reach the age and the stage to fly, they cannot fly because the wings are deformed. And so those bees, you will see them crawling on the ground, and they will crawl around on the ground until ants get them or until they die.
That's just the bare bones of what you need to learn about beekeeping. Do more research to increase your knowledge. But as you do, ask yourself this. Am I registered with the Rural Agricultural Development Authority, RADA?
It is of great importance for a farmer to become registered or get registered with RADA because indirectly they assist us in making national plans. For example, when we are doing our national plan, knowing the demographics of the farmer, where they are, the type of production that they do, it allows us to pinpoint as to what projects or programs can be implemented. And also, if we should have disaster, diseases, we know where the concentration of farmers are located. Or once you come to the RADA office, you can either speak with myself, the livestock officer, or the extension officer, and we'll provide you basic information on what is needed, how you go about it. We also give you the other linkages, such as the apiculture unit at Borders, that you can contact for other information. We also do assessment. We assist you in doing site assessment of your apiaries and also kind of hold your hand in terms of getting started. And if we have projects or programs and we can have you on that project or program, we also put you there. The advice that I give to beekeepers is to do your production in a manner that has a business-like approach. From my observation, many beekeepers think that having the bees they're just there. They don't really take the time out to assess their apiaries. Mr. McNeish mentioned about sanitation. They don't really look at that. So I say just manage your apiary, monitor your hives, keep your proper record so that you can have a good production.
Garbage collection, maintenance of public sanitary conveniences, upkeep of cemeteries, provision of water shops, road improvement, street lights, poor relief programs, community beautification. All these services are funded by you. Yes, they are, when you pay your property tax. Pay your annual property tax to make Jamaica the place of choice for all.
Jamaica is scheduled to host the 4th Energy and Climate Partnership of the Americas ECPA Ministerial Meeting from February 27 to 28 at the Montego Bay Convention Center in St. James. The ECPA Ministerial Meeting will be held under the theme Energy Resilience and Investment Opportunities. It will include the participation of energy ministers from 30 countries, development partners, and private sector stakeholders. The sessions will explore the relationship between energy and gender, poverty, efficiency, resilience, and research. It will also explore renewable energy, efficient use of cleaner fossil fuels, and regional energy integration. The government will be using information garnered from the ministerial meeting to improve the island's efforts at becoming the place of choice to live, work, raise families, and do business. Thanks for watching another informative edition of Jamaica Magazine. Do join us again tomorrow when we'll do this all over again. Until then, send your feedback on today's show to jamaicamagazine@jis.gov.jm. Also, follow us on our social media pages and download our app on your Apple and Android devices. And you can also visit our website, jis.gov.jm, for more information. On behalf of the entire production crew, I'm Adrian Atkinson. Thanks for watching.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.
Sundays at 4:30 p.m. It's all about Home Sweet Home. Get your half-hour dose of the business of real estate, from laws and concepts to reality, building, buying, or renting. Or what about trends in decor or renovations? Home Sweet Home will keep you up to date.
As a university student, trying to find the perfect accommodation that meets your expectations is quite different from that of the working class individual. Well, today on Home Sweet Home, we're going to take you through some of your options, all while maintaining the perfect GPA. Hi, Georgina.
Hi, Jody. Welcome.
Thanks so much for having us.
No problem.
So, Georgina, you're a student up at the University of the West Indies. What are you studying?
I'm actually an international relations major and a management studies minor, and I'm a finalizing student.
So, how many years?
My degree is 3 years.
Okay.
So this is my final semester, final year, and I'm so happy to be done with this degree.
Okay, so tell me a little bit what it's like as a student looking for somewhere to live.
I have actually been boarding off campus for 3 years, the full duration of my degree. And it is a bit difficult. I used the classifieds, I used UTEC's boarding list.
So you never wanted to live on campus any other time?
I did, however, after talking with my parents, and we were looking at the finances, we decided it would be better to live off campus than live on campus.
Okay, is it cheaper to live off campus?
Yes, it is.
Okay, and then also you get your own bathroom.
Oh my God, you don't understand. That is one of the biggest reasons why I decided to live off campus as well.
Okay, and so do you live here by yourself or do you have roommates?
Actually, I have housemates and I have a roommate as well.
Housemate, roommate, tell me the difference.
Okay, roommate is the person that you share the room with.
Okay.
My housemates are the persons that I share the house with.
Okay.
So currently there are 2 males and 6 females.
Okay, wow, how many bedrooms?
There's a single, 2 single, and 3 double.
So along with the classifieds, I'm sure you looked online. How difficult was it to find a place?
It wasn't really difficult. The first list that I used was the UTEC list. Because when I was looking, coming out of sixth form, heading to Kingston to start university, my friends were going to UTEC. So they got a boarding list in their package. I used that list to find a suitable place. There's also a website that you can just type in boarding in Kingston. However, it quotes the price in US. Many of the places on that website are from like Karachi. It's mainly for Mona.
Okay.
Karachi and Ligoni, yeah. So you'd go through the list, eliminate what wasn't working for you, and then you'd call the places and then set up a time for meeting. We gave ourselves a timeline. In the space of 2 weeks, we were supposed to finish finding a place and be ready to pay your security deposit to move in. But it wasn't as difficult as I thought it would have been. Because
so you were
we're
able
doing
to find
it as a
somewhere
group.
within the 2 weeks?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And when you went to, how many places did you go and look at by the time you narrowed it down?
Well, the list was kind of long. Yeah. We were mainly looking in Mona, and Mona tends to have a lot of places. So we went to, I think, around 15 places. Yes, we went to 15. There are places out there, it just takes you to go through the listings in the classifieds and in the list that they give you to find something that you actually like and something within your price range.
So tell me now, how does the agreement look? Because there's housemates, there's roommates, and I'm sure there must be a contract with so many people living together. Is there a contract with the landlord and then a contract that maybe you have with your housemates, like don't drink my milk?
Yes.
Yes.
There's actually a written agreement with the landlord that you sign. Your contract can run from 1 year to 3 years for the duration. It's just the duration.
Right.
So the 1 to 3 years was just an example. With the housemates, if you need something and I have it, you ask me for it and I'll give it to you. We don't use other persons' things without getting permission or.
Where are you originally from?
I'm from Mandeville.
Is there a problem like if your family or your friends come to visit you from Mandeville, can they catch with you?
Yes, they
yeah?
can. In the contract, you're allowed 3 days for persons to stay over. So if my family or friends come from Mandeville, or even my best friend, she lives in Westmoreland, so if she comes from West and she needs to stay over, that's fine, as long as it's not a problem with my roommate, because at the end of the day, you have to remember that this is a shared space.
Tell me more about the options that are available for students in terms of housing.
Well, options vary from living on campus and living off campus. Like if you attend, say, NCU, you can live on, off, UTech, it's the same, UA, it's the same. So it all depends on what you're looking for, what is suited to your budget or your preference, as said before.
And then if you decide to live on campus, you choose, for UWI, you have the halls of residence.
Yes.
And then if you live off campus, there's little houses that you can rent out for either a semester or the year.
Yes.
Okay. And then you can choose whether you want a roommate or a housemate.
Or you want a single room.
There's a lot of options out there, so whatever you want, you'll be able to find it.
That is
and
true.
now when it comes down to price, tell me now, what are the prices that you've come across?
Well, the prices can range between as little as 12,000 to as much as 45.
This is a month?
Yes.
The 45 is where?
The 45 is in the Mona region. Yes.
What does that come with? They have a pet?
No, you don't.
No?
No,
Okay.
you actually get everything is included. I think you're paying for the infrastructure itself.
Washer, dryer?
Yes, you get everything. Places vary based on what you're looking for. Say a $12,000 place will not include light, water, internet, gas, cable, washer, dryer, etc.
So would it be possible then to just look for a place that's $17,000, $18,000 with everything included? There's that option there too?
Yes, there are options like that. However, those places are typically hard to find because persons like myself, when I find something that is a deal, I am not moving until I'm finished with my studies. And persons, there's even a person living here whom he's working now and he's renting here because the rent is affordable and he has student loans to cover.
So then, I know that in Mona there's a lot of student housing. So if you have a working person who wants to come in and live like how you have your roommate here, is that allowed?
Typically, no, because the housing, it's for students, and working persons, they'll want to have their friends or their significant other come and visit, say probably on a school night, and then persons would be uncomfortable. Many working persons would not want to share a room with a student because we're at two different levels. Where I'm still in the student mindset, you're in the working person mindset. So that's where the disparity comes in.
What seems to be the most popular option when it comes to student housing?
My friends actually live off campus and on campus, so it's a good mixture. For many, why they live on campus is because they've had bad experiences with living off campus, or because they decided that they wanted to be immersed in the hall culture, but you can be immersed in hall culture and UA culture without living on campus. Well, for persons, especially for males, it would be the option of having a single room. And a lot of single rooms for males are available on campus and not necessarily off campus because landlords tend to want to maximize their profits. But it's dependent on where you look and it's dependent on your landlord. For women, a lot of women like to have a supportive person that they can come home and say, oh, this is my roommate, I can tell her about my day, etc. So, and both of you are in the struggle together. So, you know, I uplift you, you uplift me, etc. So for many females that I know, sharing when off campus is better for them.
What were the different factors that you looked at in getting this particular place?
For me, the top priorities: location, price, aesthetics. The other priorities now, persons living there, will I get along with these persons because I'll be spending most of my time between here and school and this is kind of like my home away from home. Will I get along with these people, etc.? That's basically it.
All right, Georgina, so basically, if I'm a student, my options are living on the halls of residence, or I can live off campus, and you're here, you live off campus, and you're going to show me around? Okay.
Come on inside.
House hunting is not for the faint of heart, especially if you're a university student. After the break, we'll take a look at a house off campus and see if this option is suitable for you.
Your business matters. Business Access TV offers you the most innovative and effective advertising solution for your business, specializing in B2B sales, cost-effective solutions, the customers you want, the repetition you need. No matter the size and nature of your company, your business matters.
Call us at 876-291-6233 or 876-376-4225. Email sales@batvja.com.
Cameo takes you behind the scenes of Jamaica's exploding creative industries to give you an insider's look at how creatives get the job done.
I'm really picky about how we treat our customers.
As creative people, we went a little bit over the top.
Each week, we interview innovators leading the charge in their industry. The chaos of creativity meets the stricture of structure on Business Access TV's Cameo. The Good Life, your weekly dose of information on nutrition, wellness, and fitness. Discover ways to nurture your mind, body, and spirit.
All right, Georgina, so basically, if I'm a student, my options are living on the halls of residence, or I can live off campus, and you're here, you live off campus, and you're going to show me around? Okay.
Come on inside. Yes. This is my living room. Currently, we have one single room here. A gentleman lives here. Another room here, shared by two girls, one's a nurse and one's studying entrepreneurship. And then around here, we have another room. Yeah, they're kind of down there. And then this is my room. Okay. Well, I'm going to show you my room now. So enter. This is my little space. Yeah.
Very cozy.
Bathroom, as I was telling you, which is very important. And we share the
storage space
and we each have our own chest of drawers.
Okay. Right, so this kind of accommodation, is this typically what students can find? Are they more elaborate or more basic?
It depends on where you go and what you're looking for, as I've stated before. They get more elaborate. But this is typically how the houses that aren't in the traditionally dormitory communities, like Mona, this is how they look.
Okay. Now, I know you had said earlier it took you about 2 weeks to find your place. Now, you know what your friends have said, and you know when people talk, how long does it take on average for someone to find their perfect space?
On average, it can take like a month, because after you leave sixth form, that's when you have to start looking. The reason why we found a place in 2 weeks as well was because we also had a point person in Kingston, someone who had already known the ropes and was helping us along to know where we're supposed to go. So it's good to find assistance. But normally, by yourself, on your own, it will probably take like, say, a month and a half to find a suitable place. But at the same time, say you find somewhere you like it but you don't love it, you can change it into the way that you want, decorate how you want, accessorize how you want. It's all about you getting a space and turning the space into your own, with the permission of the landlord, of course.
Okay, so for a prospective student looking for somewhere to live, what are some of the tips that you would give them to find their perfect accommodation?
Well, start to look from early. That's number one. Number two, figure out your price range. Are you willing to pay a lot? Are you not willing to pay a lot? Will you go in the middle? Be prepared to negotiate. Be prepared to share a space with, say, someone that you've never met if you're unable to find suitable accommodations. I don't want to come off as saying you're going to lose some friends, but yeah, be prepared for that as well, because persons will be living on campus and they'll be changing friends, they'll be growing, they'll be becoming young adults, or
it's a part of the
university it's a part of the university experience for you to either become a better version of yourself or a worse version of yourself. It's all about you. So that's basically it. And get comfortable. Come with the stuff that reminds you of home, especially for a young student. Say you're 17, 18, bring stuff that reminds you of home. Yeah, it's not to get sentimental or anything, but it helps you cope, especially when it's closer to exam times and you can't get to go home, you can't get to see your family. Talking to them via Skype or on the phone is good and all, but at the end of the day, sometimes you just need something that reminds you of your family and of home. Yes.
Georgina, thank you so much for having us. And definitely, well, if I was a student, I know exactly what I would do if I wanted to live on campus or off campus. And thank you so much for those tips, especially the last one, to bring something that reminds you of home. I think that's very important. Thank you so much for having us.
You're welcome. Thanks for coming, guys.
Are you going to cook me some lunch now?
Well, what would you like?
Well, let's see what there is. I see a whole heap of things in the kitchen. On the other side of the break, we'll be speaking with Jason McKenzie, Acting Director, Office of Student Services and Development at the University of the West Indies Mona campus. He'll be telling us everything we need to know about living on campus. Home Sweet Home will be right back after the break.
Good Life, your weekly dose of information on nutrition, wellness, and fitness. Discover ways to nurture your mind, body, and spirit. Your business matters. Business Access TV offers you the most innovative and effective advertising solution for your business, specializing in B2B sales, cost-effective solutions, the customers you want, the repetition you need. No matter the size and nature of your company, your business matters.
Call us at 876-291-6233 or 876-376-4225. Email sales@batvja.com.
Cameo takes you behind the scenes of Jamaica's exploding creative industries to give you an insider's look at how creatives get the job done.
I'm really picky about how we treat our customers.
As creative people, we went a little bit over the top.
Each week, we interview innovators leading the charge in their industry. The chaos of creativity meets the stricture of structure on Business Access TV's Cameo.
Jason McKenzie.
Nice to meet you.
Pleasure having you. Please have a seat.
Thank you. Now, here at the University of the West Indies, it's known as a hall of residence and not a dormitory. Can you tell us why?
It is a hall of residence because it's a space that provides certain developmental opportunities for our students. Essentially, a dormitory, people would just tend to sleep and rest in those, whereas in a hall of residence, It's not just a place to sleep, but a place where certain developmental activities take place. And that's the main distinction between a hall of residence and a dormitory.
Okay, so students living in the hall of residence, what are some of the benefits that they can get?
Living in a hall of residence allows for our students to be closer to the many facilities here on the campus. So they can walk to the library at any point in time. They are able to access better safety and security. It also allows for them to interact with persons from different backgrounds, living in that kind of a global village, as it were. Importantly as well, a hall of residence is a unique environment for living and for learning. So they are learning certain life skills while they reside in a hall of residence.
Okay, so the hall of residence, it's similar then to a rental agreement?
Yes, they do sign a hall agreement, because it's important that they abide by certain rules and regulations that are set by the institution. Importantly as well, they need to make payment, so the hall license agreement will speak to the kind of resources that they need to make available to us, the kind of facilities that we will offer for them, and the kind of conduct that we expect of our students while living in a hall of residence.
And how long is each time period that you can sign up for?
The agreement is for a year, where students, if they choose to, can spend a semester. After the year though, they may apply or reapply to live in the hall, and they may be granted accommodation for another year. So it's a year-by-year basis that they enter into an arrangement with us.
How many rooms do you think there are on campus?
We have 3,786 spaces currently on campus. And these are scattered through 10 halls of residence.
So what are some of the restrictions for the students living within the halls? Are they allowed visitors? Are they allowed visitors after certain hours? What are some of the no-nos?
The safety and security of our students are of utmost importance. Certainly they are allowed visitors. We are visiting hours as well, because you want to maintain certain behavioral patterns within that space, and you do not want for a visitor to be of an inconvenience to somebody who was paid to be within that space. So our visiting period ranges from 8 a.m. to 1 a.m.
Can the student leave campus? Is there a curfew for them to come back in and be in the hall of residence?
No, they are indeed adults, and so they are allowed to leave and return at their own discretion.
Are there any other policies that students need to abide by?
The institution itself has broad policies and regulations that speak to students' conduct. And so whether or not you're living in a hall of residence or you are commuting students, you're expected to abide by these rules and regulations.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about the units. Are some of them furnished? None are furnished? Appliances, are they included? How new are some of the halls? Give me a little idea of what I can expect when I go on my tour.
The first of the existing hall of residence is Irving Hall, and that came into being in 1950. The most recent hall of residence came into being in 2015. So we have, a range of halls in terms of the age of the facilities. Importantly though, they are fully furnished spaces. And so there are different accommodation types. We have an all-female hall. We also have an all-male hall. Importantly, there are double rooms and there are single rooms. These are all furnished spaces, so they will come with a bed, a chair, an easy chair, a chest of drawers. You will also have bookshelves, a study lamp, and so on. So, a comfortable setting where students can relax, students can take care of their academic work, but importantly, there are common spaces where students can meet and interact and benefit from our developmental programs. Okay. It's a holistic environment. It's a community within a community where students learn, develop, grow, and become better individuals, because we believe that we are producing citizens that are global in their thinking and that are able to work with persons from various backgrounds.
You had said earlier that there were about 3,700 spaces available to students. About how many of those spaces right now are occupied?
We have full occupancy. There is a high demand for accommodation on campus.
But is it possible for me to take a look around at one of the halls?
It would be my pleasure to show you one of the halls of residence.
Which hall are we going to go to? Because I know you said that there's 10.
We'll go to the Elsa Leorani Hall of Residence.
Okay, great.
So this is Mr. Anderson. I'm manager for the hall.
Nice to meet you.
We're doing virtual, yes. Thank you very much, Mr. Anderson, for hosting us. So, Jody, this is Bertram Anderson, the Student Service and Development Manager for Elsa Leo Riney Hall, and he's responsible for the developmental activities that we spoke about that happen within a hall of residence, to include leadership, mentorship, community outreach, and so on. So, he's the one who is responsible for delivering the developmental programs.
Okay.
Thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me.
Yes.
So I noticed that there were a couple different towers. How many towers are there?
There are 5 towers. There are approximately 600 students that live in towers. Only one of the towers that you have seen houses double occupancy.
As a student, how would I apply to live in one of the residences?
Well, as a new student, a new applicant to the university, the application form includes a section for student housing. So you will apply indicating your hall of choice. And then we will do that processing. As long as you're accepted by the institution, then we will write to you to indicate whether or not you have been successful in your application. For students who are already living in a hall of residence, the period March 1 to the 31st of March is the application period. So the returning students will apply during that period, and we'll also process their application. And by the end of the semester, they will know whether or not they have been successful in their application.
So returning students, do they have more of a better chance of getting in, like, than a new student?
Well, we'll leave a certain percentage of the space for new students, because we really want to give each student an opportunity to live in a hall of residence.
Thank you so much for showing me around. I'm sure the student that lives here is very happy. I can see that she has her books out, ready to study. And thank you so much for having me.
My pleasure.
Today we looked at some of the housing options available to university students, and we also shared some tips with you on how to make the transition from your parents' house into your own space a little bit smoother. I'm Jody, and that's it for this week of Home Sweet Home.
Your business matters. Business Access TV offers you the most innovative and effective advertising solution for your business, specializing in B2B sales, cost-effective solutions, the customers you want, the repetition you need. No matter the size and nature of your company, your business matters.
Call us at 876-291-6233 or 876-376-4225. Email sales@batvja.com.
I started out selling out of the trunk of my car.
If everybody think the same way, everybody going in the same line.
Being an entrepreneur takes everything that you've got.
Weekends? What's weekends? We work on a weekend.
There are real opportunities everywhere you look.
But you have to have the passion.
If I do my part well,
then everything is at play.
We believed in ourselves and our families believed in us.
Being convinced of this great opportunity, why we are all here doing what we're doing now.
You're watching Business Access TV.
Business Access.
Business Access.
Business Access.
Business Access.
You are watching Business Access TV.
Business Access TV.
Serious about business.
Serious about business.
Welcome to Business Access TV's coverage of the annual PSOJ JMMB Economic Forum, where we'll be hearing from top financial experts and successful business owners in their field, sharing their knowledge on how to maximize growth in Jamaica. Stay tuned. I'm your host, Amita Prasad-Webb.
In the face of the undeniably heroic efforts by successive government administrations over the past 10 years to restructure our macroeconomy and our legislative framework, why hasn't the private sector manifestly and obviously not become the real engine of growth that is required to catapult the country into the hyperspace of meaningful growth that we all so earnestly desire? Is it that we're risk averse? Is it that we are traditionally hidebound? I don't have all the answers, but I'd like us to start thinking in that direction. Because what we know is that it cannot be business as usual. Secondly, where are the real growth sectors within Jamaica that we need to exploit in order to release the excess capital that is currently locked into our traditional investment vehicles, earning little or nothing, and not contributing to the effective empowerment of the larger sector of our population, which has been marginalized into pursuing underground activities that yield very little taxes, generate very little social good, and feed the negative and oftentimes criminal tendencies of our under-equipped population. If we can keep these questions in mind while we absorb the information and reasoning that we'll be hearing this morning, perhaps we can travel a little further down the road towards unraveling the chains that still bind us, such as the low level of access to credit and financial intermediation. Less than 20% or 22% of Jamaicans have access to credit, just a little higher than Haiti. That is not a good situation, and we need to address our minds to breaking that chain. And also the burdensome bureaucracy and cumbersome tax structures that prohibit the entrepreneurial endeavors. And the belief that Jamaica has no indigenous factor resources that are worth investing in. That agriculture is too much of a risk because of bad weather. The belief and the unconscious prejudice against our music and our culture that compels the practitioners of these arts to take the products abroad or restrict the development of these products to the initiative of foreign entrepreneurs. And finally, the low level of interest in our exotic agricultural flavors and fragrances, our medicinal and herbal compounds, and the culture and history that is locked up in our city centers. We need to think on these things. It is my hope that today will generate not only thought, but action to change the direction of our aspirations and behaviors. On behalf of the Private Sector Organization of Jamaica, I welcome you to the annual Economic Forum and look forward to a robust and productive morning. Thank you.
It's a PSOJ in partnership with the JMMB for today's Economic Forum. Talk to us about your partnership.
Well, it's an excellent partnership. JMMB is a very creative, very flexible partner, and the PSOJ has benefited over the years with the association. They are a member of the PSOJ, so we welcome it. And this forum in particular is an exciting one for us because it signals a change in the paradigm of how we do business.
What would you say are the main objectives today?
Main objectives today are to speak to the whole question of Jamaica's economic resilience and independence. Now that we appear to be making progress in our debt reduction, we want to look at building a foundation that prevents us from going back into being a debt nation. So that one of the objectives of the forum today is to look at how do we promote local investment with the capital that is tied up in Jamaica, and how do we promote investment in non-traditional areas. So you'll hear the panelists speaking to that.
The Economic Forum is an annual event. Would you say it accomplishes its objectives each and every year? Is it really furthering the discussion?
Well, bear in mind that I've only been president for a year, but the reports I have been very good about the Economic Forum. And if this one is to judge by, you can see the attendance is very good, the level of participation is very good, and the excitement levels that are being generated are very high.
It is great that we are gathered here today to consider economic resilience. It means that we're concerned with the performance of the economy under a variety of circumstances. And it means that we want to ensure that under a multiplicity of possible outcomes, the Jamaican economy is likely to be such that our standards of living is maintained. I do believe, and you've heard me say before, that the primary mission of our time is to secure for Jamaica and to achieve for Jamaica economic independence, which is economic resilience under a variety of circumstances. Previous generations would have worked hard, and we benefit from their achievement of political independence, and it is our job to ensure that for this generation and for future generations, Jamaica has the means to secure for itself and for its people from our own resources under a variety of circumstances going forward. And as Minister of Finance, I am squarely focused on this objective. But it's not an easy mission. If it were an easy mission, it would have happened already. Jamaica is a small, open economy. Trade accounts for 80% of GDP. And as a result, the proverbial butterfly flapping its wings in Southeast Asia has a ripple effect on Jamaica. We have practical examples today of sanctions against Russia threatening operations of Windalco, which happens to be accounts for 25% of our bauxite and alumina earnings. We have seen where sanctions against Venezuela threaten us in the energy sector. And we have seen where commodity price movements on the account of wars and rumors of wars affect life here in Jamaica. So how do we build economic resilience in the face of this reality? How do we strive for and achieve economic independence? Well, one of the key distinctions or the things that separate developing from developed countries is the absence of strong institutions. And surely the way to build economic resilience and to achieve economic independence is to ensure that we have strong and durable, impervious institutions. And as Minister of Finance, that is exactly what I have set out to do, to catalyze the emergence of strong and independent institutions that can safeguard our economic future. For the majority of my lifetime, and Howard would like me to say for the majority of his as well, Jamaica has been in a program relationship with the IMF. Now, don't get me wrong, the IMF has always come to Jamaica's assistance in times of need, and for that we are grateful. But we cannot be proud of the fact that for the majority of our independent years, we have had to depend on the resources of the international community as represented by the IMF. And you know, the IMF doesn't emerge and we don't enter into a program relationship with the IMF when our roads are bad or when there is a problem in crime or when the pharmaceutical supplies at the hospital are in short supply. Each and every engagement we have had with the IMF over the last 55 years has come about when our reserves at the Bank of Jamaica have gone too low. And that is why reforms to strengthen our central bank are so important and are so key to the task of economic resilience and economic independence. Later this year, we'll be tabling legislation to clarify the monetary policy goals of the central bank to be focused on price stability, to improve the transparency around monetary policy decision making, and so that information will be available for businesses and for individuals as they make their own choices. The reforms will improve the accountability of the central bank, pivoting the accountability relationship away from the Minister of Finance exclusively and towards the people of Jamaica through the Parliament. It will improve the governance of the central bank and diffuse decision making, and it will provide for the independence in monetary policy decision making, as well as strengthening the balance sheet of the central bank to give it the capital base to ensure that the policies that are being pursued can be done so effectively. You see, a prerequisite of economic resilience is external sustainability. A prerequisite of economic independence is to have the assurance for all businesses and all individuals to have the assurance that Jamaica can meet its external obligations as those external obligations come due. And what are our external obligations? Well, external obligations are interest payments that you have to make overseas, whether you are a private company, an individual, or you're a government. It consists of foreign payables that have to be paid by the government and by the private sector, dividends, and other flows. And at any point in time, you can measure the liability space that we have by looking at the external obligations of the private sector and of the government. And economic resilience must rest on a foundation that external sustainability is assured. And that is the principal reason for embarking upon the modernization of the central bank that we are going to do starting in October.
We go to a break, but please stay with us. More after this.
Taking the pain out of the audit preparation. Doggin Global now offers audit management services, AMS. With AMS, Doggin Global team manages your external audit process by providing the following. 1. Prepare and review schedules for your external auditors. 2. Prepare responses to your external audit team queries. 3. Assign our team members to locate supporting documents during field work. 4. Draft financial statements in accordance with IFRS to supply to your external auditors. 5. Provide guidance to your internal accounting staff regarding classification and recording of transactions. 6. Review your general ledger for accuracy. 7. Prepare necessary journal entries. 8. Prepare fixed asset register. 9. Prepare accounting and operational manual for effective internal control. 10. Liaise with the company external auditors. We work with your team to achieve timely and effective external audits, resulting in timely completion of your audited financial statement, while your current staff focuses on their daily activities. Contact us, info@doggin.global, Website doggin.global.
Welcome back and thanks for staying with us. Let's go straight to stage to our presenter.
It's one thing to identify problems. It's a whole other thing to actually form the teams around resolving them and having the execution capability to get things done. And I think that there's some structures that have been set up here in Jamaica that are probably better than in many other places. But I would definitely look to see how you could enhance that so you could get more meaningful results in addressing some of these barriers. Because the future of your country is based on it. And no amount of directing people to invest in one industry or one opportunity or the other is going to make the difference. No big project, bring the Chinese and do this, bring people from other countries and do that, get the private sector to invest in agriculture. No amount of this directing is going to make the difference, like freeing up all of the actors to make smart investment decisions easily and understand the rules of the game and find human capital to support their investments. That's where the emphasis and focus really needs to be paid. I think that keeping pace with this rapid change is going to require a fresh approach and a different organizational model to the organizational models and approaches that we've had in the past. I think we have to have a fresh way of thinking of how we attract, motivate, unleash, and retain people in our organizations. There's unparalleled changes taking place in the world today, really driven by technology and technological advances that now allow for the speed of communication to be increased and for the processing speeds of computers to take on complex calculations. The cost of storage of data has come down considerably, and all of this is coming together to create this interesting opportunity where we are more interconnected in ways that we've never ever been and never dreamt of before. And there are industries that are emerging with Uber, Airbnb, Facebook, Google, Amazon, these wonderful companies that are doing things globally at a scale and at a pace that we've never seen before. Simultaneous with that, we see that there's a lot of impact that we people are having on the planet. And all of this is coming together in this, great age of acceleration in which, we have to figure out how we respond. In fact, this rate of change has probably gotten to be so fast that our ability to adapt as humans is being significantly challenged, and we can see it in some of the disconnects with Uber moving into countries and regulation, not being able to catch up and keep up with what they want to do. While all of this is taking place on a global scale, we see that here in the Caribbean, we are still, struggling with some of the basics around corruption, around economic growth, strangled by debt, not able to invest in some of the basic things that we need to invest in. And while Jamaica, I think, is a bright spot, having come through this last IMF program and implemented a lot of fiscal discipline, and its economic measures are trending in the right direction. What we think is that you're going to need a fresh approach to how businesses and people look to, I would say, not more than survive, look to be able to operate in this new emerging environment.
We take our final break, but don't go anywhere. We still have more when we return.
The Good Life, your trusted source for useful health and wellness information, lifestyle tips for the mind, body, and soul. Tune in Tuesdays at 8:30 p.m. on Business Access TV.
for staying with us. If you are just tuning in, we're here at the annual PSOJ JMMB Economic Forum. Please stay tuned for more highlights.
To talk a little bit about the business environment. Whether we use doing business or the global economic competitiveness index, I mean, the trends are the same. And what we see there is that Jamaica is not doing that badly. I mean, Jamaica's on top of the Caribbean, fifth, in the Latin America region, first in the starting business, not first, but in the top 5 of starting a business, which is great. But then the question is, what does the business do after it has been registered? And this is where the rubber hits the road. And I said Jamaica is not that bad, in terms of the ranking, but when you look across the indicators, you see that there's huge variability, between the top 5 and going down to 130 among 190 economists on trading across borders. And there are, what we have been doing in other countries in Jamaica, the good thing again in Jamaica is, similar to the good setup of the Economic Growth Council, there is a Competitiveness Council, and they are working with our expert on business environment. They have already identified, what are the bottlenecks, what are the needs, what are the things that need to be done, and trust me, there are low-hanging fruits in revamping some regulations of permits, inspections, etc. There are also longer term or medium term, using all of the digital economy, the e-filing, and all sorts of digital platforms, which is longer term, requires investment. But there is a roadmap, and now, as Mr. Warner was saying, things are known, issues are identified in both disaster risk financing and mitigation, and in improving the business environment. Now the thing is, execution, and really make those things happen.
That is our biggest challenge. What we are now seeing, and I'm very happy that Dr. Clark is here, because he has really been really promoting some of the key changes that need to be made on the technocratic front. This issue of the Bank of Jamaica's independence is absolutely critical. Why is it so critical? Between 1963 and 1993, 62% of the increase in money supply in Jamaica was attributable to the Bank of Jamaica lending money to the government of Jamaica. Lending money that it does not have, because the Bank of Jamaica has no money. All right? The only money that exists in Jamaica is the money that we have in our private capacity. The reason the government has any money is because they take it from us in taxes. All right? So when the Bank of Jamaica lends money to the government, it's lending money that it has created out of thin air. That is inherently inflationary. And that is what dominated our economic instability from 1963 to 1993. After 1993, we started to have some controls on Bank of Jamaica credit to the public sector, but we didn't solve our fiscal problems, because for the 2 years from 1993 to 2013, that 20-year period, we borrowed excessively on international capital markets. Thus that by 2013, as again our keynote speaker pointed out, we had one of the highest debt to GDP levels in the region. So we have a couple of things that we have to accomplish. We need independence of the Bank of Jamaica so it never again reverts to what it does in 63 to 93. But we also need independence on the fiscal fronts to ensure that the government doesn't borrow excessively when it doesn't have access to Bank of Jamaica resources. Again, both of those are technocratic interventions, so that at the Ministry of Finance you have a technocratic team that has the capacity to understand exactly how we need to function. But then you also need the partnerships and the social capital to put the government in a position where it is not excessively borrowing, because it is managing its fiscal affairs, because there's so much accountability at the level of the broader society, and all of us are recognizing that the government has to be held accountable on that front. So it's not a conceptual challenge, colleagues, it's an execution and an implementation challenge.
Another
year of partnership with the PSOJ as far as JMMB is concerned. And one of the things we like about being a part of the forum is that it supports a conversation. So what you have is a room filled with some of the brightest minds in Jamaica, top executives, top academics coming together to talk about what's best for the Jamaican economy. And so what we expect from today is no different from the years past. Obviously, things would have changed. We're going through a time of exchange rate devaluation of the Jamaican dollar, concerns about the exchange rate, concerns about inflation. Are we measuring the right things? And so we believe that what's going to happen here today is going to bring a lot of that out and really get into solution mode about what we need to do as a country to get us where we need to go.
Let's talk a little bit about JMMB. You're here today with in partnership with the PSOJ. What's next?
Well, for JMMB, we have always been an organization that has been a little bit different. As a financial services entity, we're not your typical bank or investment house. Based on the vision of our co-founders, we have always been about focusing on our clients and focusing on what's best for the community and for Jamaica. And that's what drives our decisions, it drives our strategy. And so that drove the decision to be a part of this partnership. So it's not just about, providing financial services for people and we collect a fee. Really, it is about supporting them in achieving their dreams and being a part of an ongoing process of solution development that will ultimately be to the benefit of Jamaica and everyone who lives here.
And that brings us to the end of our coverage of the annual PSOJ JMMB Economic Forum. I've been your host, Amita Prasad-Webb, and thank you for tuning in to Business Access TV, serious about business.
Dodge & Global offers a CPA scholarship program to team members who join our team. A career in accountancy at Dodge & Global is a great choice and can offer you excellent job prospects. We believe that an accounting education is the greatest gift you can give yourself or anyone else. Few gifts make as significant an impact as the gift of an accountancy education with a job. It's a contribution that lasts a lifetime in the form of learning, opportunity, and success. Join our team and get the opportunity to be part of our CPA scholarship program. This scholarships awards program will be administered by the HR department of Dodge & Global. Requirements: first degree in accounting, employed at Dodge & Global, willing to pursue the CPA examination. Here's how to apply. Submit application to Staff Accountant, Dodge & Global. Email sa@dodgen.com.
I'm Jean Laurichin, and I'm the Executive Director of ProCom, ProDev, and CCRP. BATV had heard about our outreach arm, which is a Caribbean community of retired persons. I think BATV is having a very positive impact. And as a result of that excellent feature, we got more members. So clearly people are watching BATV. I always say to my clients, you should have a 360-degree campaign. Do not limit yourself to one media house. And especially those who are in business, I think it's very important to include BATV in their portfolio.
Your business matters. Promote it on Business Access TV.
My name is Herbert Chung, Executive Chairman, Co-Founder, Honeybone 1982 Limited. You're watching Business Access TV, serious about business.
Coming up in this episode of Wealth Magazine Business Access, Marlene Street Forrest, Managing Director of the Jamaica Stock Exchange Group, shares with us about how her formative years were balanced with play, moral building activities, and learning the principles of business from her parents. Street Forest also recounts her professional pursuits, citing her work in many different industries over the years, among them her short-lived stint at farming and her passion for building the Jamaican economy by advancing the work of the JSE.
The stock exchange is a way to grow wealth individually and for the country at large. The stock market is not for rich people. It is a market for all of us. This is another form of investing, and everyone can look at investing in the stock market. My name is Marlene Street Forest, Managing Director of the Jamaica Stock Exchange Group. I'm the Managing Director of the Jamaica Stock Exchange, and originally I am from Portland. I attended the Titchfield High School. I'm passionate about my high school. I was brought up in business, and I'm so passionate about my country, so that I want to see businesses expand and grow, and for our country to do better. As I said before, I'm from Portland, and my parents were business people. And so as a child growing up from a babe, we were in the business. We had to work very hard within the business, emulating our parents who actually worked very hard. And so from an early age, I can remember us writing receipts, fitting up a kerosene stove, actually making those covers for mattresses, stuffing them. And so we learned to be industrious. And we recognize also that with everything that we got, the reward that we got was based on the work that we put in. We recognize that our parents loved us, but as a family, but that we had to also be involved in whatever they did. So from a young child, we worked. We did not consider it child labor, because we recognize that it was instilling that sort of discipline in us that was necessary and has served me well in my adult life. I was the youngest of 3 girls in the household, and we had fun playing. We played all sorts of games, snake and ladder, etc., and played with my parents. We rode bicycles to school and back, up the hill, down the hill. And my mother was very attentive. So in the evenings or before bedtime, she would read books for us. My father, attentive, but my mother was more so. My childhood was not always very happy, in some respect, because my father was an albino, and sometimes it was never, persons were never always kind to that situation. You were always ridiculed about color, and so you had to live with that as a child. It is something that, in terms of the society, need to get a grip of in terms of how you deal with people with differences and how you embrace people with differences. The moral compass was very important for my parents. We were taken to church, and when we became older, we were sent to church. So it was quite fun from that standpoint growing up. It was not probably as funny as for other children, because as I indicated to you before, we worked. So some of the times when other children, you saw them out playing, we were in the business place, and my parents had haberdashery, hardware, and so we were there working. My father had skittle tables and jukeboxes that were all over Port Antonio, and we had to go and clear them. We listened to the record. The good thing about it is that you knew almost every song that came out within that era because you punched them and you played them. So there was a mixture. There were days that when you did not get the pocket money because business was not good. So again, that taught you that it's not all the while that you're going to have. And there were times when business overall was not good, and those were lean years, and you had to live with that. But it gave you the sense of balance that most children need to have nowadays. I started prep school at 2.5, so I was at school very early, and went on to the primary level where everyone did the common entrance and was successful in common entrance, and went to Titchfield High School. And that is the premier high school in Portland, in Port Antonio. The interesting thing is that most persons, if they go to high school and they go to sixth form, it is 7 years. But I spent 6 years in high school as I did my A-levels in 1 year. When you are in business, like my family, I had 2 older sisters growing up, and they were both in college. And sometimes business is good, sometimes it's not. And at that point, I made a decision at sixth form that I had to do my A-levels in 1 year, and then was successful in the A-levels, and went on to teach. Obviously, that's a pre-trained teacher. I taught at a high school. For the next year, I taught at Port Maria High, and taught many subjects. And I am happy to say, very proud too, that the children were also successful, those that were in fifth form in their subjects. Then I went on to the University of the West Indies to do a Bachelor of Science in Management Studies. University life was interesting, though I did not live on, because by this time I was married. I got married very early. The course of study was good. I actually got an honors degree, graduated with an honors degree from the University of the West Indies. Met many friends there. Some of them are still friends today. My mandate at the JC really is to use cutting-edge technology to develop the market. One of the things that we looked at was the creation of the junior market. Well, we all know that that has been extremely successful. We have seen an increase in persons investing in the market from about 2%, and now we are about 7% or so, which is good.
Your business matters. Business Access TV offers you the most innovative and effective advertising solution for your business, specializing in B2B sales, cost-effective solutions, the customers you want, the repetition you need. No matter the size and nature of your company, your business matters.
Call us at 876-291-6233 or 876-376-4225. Email sales@batvja.com.
When I left university, though it was a time when it was difficult to get jobs, because that was in the 80s, and that's early 80s, and there was always the upheaval in the economy. I through, again, one of my friends on campus, I was able to get a job at the income tax department. She was working there at that time. And I went as a tax auditor. I audited companies, and it was a very, very good experience. You were told what to do, you explained, while persons say a lot of negative about government. I did not experience that at income tax department then. I experienced professional persons working, understanding what to do, treating the entire work that they had as a very, very serious. I left there and I went on to Jamaica Public Service. So I've been around. I went to Jamaica Public Service as internal auditor, and there the experience was also good. The persons that you worked with, you interacted with, were always very much concerned about your growth. And after that, I went to Caribbean Cement Company. And if there is a defining moment in terms of my work world, was Caribbean Cement Company. And under the watchful eye of the managing director then, called Mr. Compton Rodney, and he mentored me. And so I've had very positive experience with men. He mentored me, he showed me how, just how to behave in a professional manner, and took interest in your career and your growth. That's a mentor. He was a very, very good mentor. And, you know, I have not yet seen another like him in terms of how he mentored not only me, but others. We were always given books, additional books to read, to ensure that we kept abreast with current happenings. And so the experience there as a cost accountant was very good. I left Cement Company and I went on to Xerox. So I've been around. And I went there as their chief accountant. And again, positive experience. So there is the sort of span of the career. I went abroad for some time, came back to Jamaica, and I worked with JBC as their chief accountant, and spent some time there. Again, the focus was always what can you bring to the table that is positive. And their financials were, in terms of audit, were behind. And the one drive that I had was in ensuring that it was up to date. And by the time I left their financial statements were up to date. I think I left with that division being positive and went on to the Jamaica Observer. I was asked at the point when I was leaving, going to a company that was a startup, even if it had big monies behind it. As you know, it was owned by Butch Stewart and others. Why would you take that risk? But if you believe that you can make a difference, you'll take the risk. And I went to the Observer as a financial controller and left there as the assistant general manager. After leaving the Observer, I went on to work with the government again, Southeast Regional Health Authority. And I also went into farming. I went into farming because I felt that I had a passion for growing things, and I wanted to see how I could make a difference in this area. I did my analysis, and it was deficient because I did not factor in predial larceny. And so all the financials came out positive, and it would have been a positive experience, except that thieves got the better of my farm. And until the government does something serious about that, I think that agriculture can be an area for serious growth in the country. And not only growth from the standpoint of financial growth, but also in terms of social. When you are interacting with that soil, it gives you different warmer feelings to even your fellow men. So it is important that we look back at how we treat with agriculture. But I left because it would not pay the bills, naturally. And as I said, I went to Southeast Regional Authority and then on to the Jamaica Stock Exchange, where I went as the Deputy General Manager with the focus on finance. My mandate at the JC really is to use cutting-edge technology to develop the market, because the Jamaica Stock Exchange, what it does is operates different markets, and the idea is to ensure that in the operation of the trading of stocks over a market, or the encouragement of persons to come and do what is called initial public offering or list on the exchange, the mandate is to ensure that you have a transparent and efficient market. So one is about the technology, but the other is about people. So that continues to be my mandate. And so we have put in during my tenure, a little before I came, and during that period, the electronic trading platform. And that has worked well. We have had the Jamaica Central Securities Depository that does the settlement of those transactions. And at one point during my tenure at the Stock Exchange, I was also the General Manager for the Jamaica Central Securities Depository. The idea, though, is how do you use that powerful medium to grow the economy, to make life easier for investors and also for businesses that want to access capital. And we had the main market, as you know, and one of the things that we looked at was the creation of the junior market. Well, we all know that that has been extremely successful, and that persons have bought onto the idea, both from the level of the persons, the issuers, the persons who come to market to raise funds, and the investors. So many persons now have started to invest in equity, just as other countries around the world, especially developed countries, and I'm happy about that. So we have seen an increase in persons investing in the market from about 2%, and now we are about 7 or so percent, which is good. When you go into an organization, get to know who you are working with, get to understand them, and so also that they can understand you, because people will make the difference.
This is Caroline Smith, Marketing Implementer for Sol Western Caribbean for Shell Lubricants, and you're watching Business Access TV, and they are serious about business.
The stock exchange is a way to grow wealth individually and for the country at large. So the other thing that we looked at is how do you ensure that 10 years from now you do not have the same problem that we had, in that older persons are just understanding about the market. So I'm happy and I'm proud about the stock market game that is within probably over 50 schools, high schools in Jamaica, because what that does is create that knowledge that you are not starting from base one anymore, But those students will now come out and understand that the stock market is not for rich people. That's something that I'm really just passionate about, that people know that this is not a market for rich people. It is a market for all of us. This is another form of investing, and everyone can look at investing in the stock market. So we looked at the stock market game, and in order to ensure that the perception was positive during my tenure, we board the decision, but during that time we did what is called move the company from a mutual company to a demutualized company, meaning it's not mutual again. The ownership of the exchange and the decision making, the regulatory, those are separated. So persons know that this company is transparent, and the decisions that are made are not made from a personal basis, but the regulation is within the ambit of the rules. I received a few years ago the Order of Distinction, Commander Class, and that's for development of the Jamaica Stock Exchange. And from the World Recognition, an Afro Global Award from out of Canada. And from the Rotary Club of Kingston East and Port Royal, the award in respect to my involvement in business. And quite recently to the Jamaica Observer Leadership, I was selected as one of the contenders. These awards mean a lot to me because it is persons saying that they think you are doing a good job. And from the standpoint that you do not necessarily want to be publicly recognized, that's for me really, but it encourages me. What it also does too is spur you on to see what more can I do. Though within yourself you want to do and you are driven from your own internal being, it still gives you that push to do more, especially when some of the times when you are doing it's not always easy because you get pushed back. You would have known about some of the struggles we had with the junior market and some of the products that you're trying to develop. It still allows you to go on to something else because not everything that you think will be a positive for your company, for Jamaica, not everybody will buy into it, and they might see things from another perspective. And, it says to you, look, while this has not gone the way, go on, move on, continue. The highlight of my career, I would really say it's the junior market. I think it has opened up so much possibility for persons. And when you look and you see how many of these businesses are doing, and you feel that, in some small way, I had a hand in it. And when persons come up to you and they said, I invested and I'm doing so well, it makes you feel good. Again, also, I think the stock market game. And when you see the younger persons are now able to feel very comfortable about this subject, it makes you feel satisfied. So as it relates to building Brand Jamaica, I think my contribution is just the improvement at the Stock Exchange Group, providing the services that are necessary to build the economy and to ensure that persons recognize that there are options to accessing capital, and one of them is accessing equity capital. When I started to work, I remember my husband saying to me then that I must know the people I work with more than the work itself. and that the knowledge of the work will come. But if you don't know the people, then you might not succeed. And that's very, very important. When you go into an organization, get to know who you are working with, get to understand them, and so also that they can understand you. Because people will make the difference. People either make the difference of not supporting you with your dreams, just the work itself, or not. And if you understand people, you also understand how to navigate difficult situations that will come about because you work with people. And it is the people why you succeed. You did not succeed by yourself. You did not. And, people would need to get over thinking that they did. You succeed because people assisted you. People worked with you. People bought into the vision that you are trying to sell, because it's a selling game as well. And if you understand people, sometimes you'll know when they're not feeling well. They are tired, what they want out of the situation as well. And I think as a result, that's the best piece of advice I have received, and I've used it throughout my career. I am twice married. My first husband died, and I'm married again. But I've always had a supportive family structure. I have 2 daughters, and they have been very supportive. And I now have a grandson, and even he is supportive of my activities. So I have been lucky. I've been lucky. My extended family, my sisters, they have also been supportive. And my mother, who is still alive, she's supportive as well. You get from them, they are the litmus tests, really, because you get the truth. There's no holds barred. They tell you just what they think. We operate from a standpoint of respect, and they share their ideas too sometimes with me. What you think about this? Probably that could work, and you feed from them. My family is really my all. Let me tell you what wealth means to me. I think the creation of wealth is important because there are various phases in one's life, and you want to ensure that you have created an environment, a wealthy or sufficient environment that in your twilight years you can afford to live comfortably. So that is wealth from a personal basis. I think it is important that from a country we create wealth for the future generation. You don't leave them with debt. And it is important at all times for individuals, families, to create wealth intergenerational so it can be passed down, so that the struggles of one society or one generation is not the struggle of another generation. And where you have that, the creativity, you can create more. You can feed your country. So wealth is definitely important, which is, I suspect, why my focus and our focus at the stock exchange is that of wealth creation.
Hi, I'm Edmund Bartlett, Minister of Tourism, and you are watching Business Access TV. Serious about business.
J. Ray Nephew Limited has been in existence for almost 200 years. The company's philanthropic arm, the JWN Foundation, is much younger.
The JWN Foundation has been in existence now since 2012, so we're 5 years old. Of course, a very young foundation, but we are working really hard to develop our foundation, in terms of funding and, more importantly, the key areas of contribution that we will be making in community. Primarily, we target youth because there are really great needs for education, in particular, in the communities that we operate. We tend to focus on those communities that surround our operations. So we are in Kingston, Seaview, Waterhouse. We operate in Appleton, around the Appleton Estate area, in Silo and surrounding communities. So we make sure that we do that to impact those communities which are appended to our operations generally. We want to drive positive change of the attitude of youth in the communities that we are engaged in. We focus on really 3 pillars: education, social inclusion, and of course culture, that being part of our communities, and particularly Jamaican culture, which is very extensive. The projects that we articulate allow individuals in the communities to reach their full potential, in terms of engagement that we're providing and empowerment of these individuals so that they can come into being and hold their own. The key thing that we do is to make sure that for our remit, we operate in a way that is in keeping with our operations as a foundation. Very, very important. In addition to that, we solicit participation from ourselves internally with our staff, and of course externally. Now, sometimes you can have challenges because different entities may have different areas of focus, but we seek to ensure that there's this alignment. And for example, what we've had with JMMB as a case in point is good in that regard, that we've found a partner that is aligned with activities that we would want to undertake, particularly as it relates to education. So that has been good for us.
I've been a part of the JWN Foundation since last August. In the year that I've been a part of the organization, I've felt personally rewarded by the programs that the foundation has led on. Several community initiatives, several opportunities for the staff to interact and engage directly with persons from all of the 4 communities.
We really believe in corporate philanthropy. Our programs, we're very involved in focusing on the youth. We look at our scholarships. We engage youth. It's not just education, but exposure to. We have our Trainbury, which we got them on a train to see areas in this country that a lot of them have not seen before. Of note is the Conversations for Greatness program, which was basically conceived by JMMB, and we've come into partnership with them. And particularly because this program really is about empowerment of youth, involving teachers, at the base level where we expect that germination of good, wholesome thinking and contribution to community. And that is very, very important for us, and we're seeing fruits. Already we have significant involvement on our sides in terms of a rollout and adopting schools, not leaving out the participation, of course, of our employees, making sure that this program can move from strength to strength. And I think that's going to yield tremendous results going forward, because what this is doing is changing, altering the minds, altering the ways in which our youth think, our teachers think, and for that to build on itself and result in benefits for the youth going forward. Of course, I think we're making great progress. I know my team is putting a lot of effort in. It's a young foundation. First, we have to ensure that we're raising sufficient funds. We're looking at that. We have a number of initiatives to execute. We're looking forward to doing that. But we want to make sure that we're focusing on youth. And so when we conceptualize programs, we want to make sure that that is our central focus. So going forward, we will have stronger programs. We will have executions that are going to result in benefit to youth. And fundamentally, that's where we're at.
Coming up on Caring Hands.
It really will be a head start for my daughter's educational fund.
Your business matters. Business Access TV offers you the most innovative and effective advertising solution for your business, specializing in B2B sales, cost-effective solutions, the customers you want, the repetition you need. No matter the size and nature of your company, your business matters.
Call us at 876-291-6233 or 876-376-4225. Email sales@batvja.com.
Hey guys, I'm Candy and welcome to Chill Spot, Jamaica's ultimate leisure show. This season promises to reveal some of the hidden treasures of the lifestyle industry by taking you to the chill spots of some of Jamaica's most brilliant business minds, giving you a glimpse into how they choose to unwind and just pull a vibe. You won't want to miss what happens next. Stay tuned.
In this 1 degree, you're able to do many things.
I think the field found me.
I'd rather work with the deceased than work with the living.
Let us open your mind to careers you've never considered.
Miniature model maker.
Game technician.
Animator.
Good job. Empowerment.
Career moves.
Anywhere money is, that's where I am.
The Good Life, your weekly dose of information on nutrition, wellness, and fitness. Discover ways to nurture your mind, body, and spirit.
In keeping with its contribution to education, the JWN Foundation gives back through its annual scholarship awards.
The most important project, I think, for us is that of education, and we're really driven with education. We've moved from 25 scholarships, which we've offered, to offering 100 scholarships. So that's a fourfold increase. This is very important for us because that is how these communities, which have been hamstrung for years, are going to build themselves. They're going to have that more greater impact in the future because of what education has to offer. So that really is the centerpiece of our programs.
So last year I joined just in time for the annual scholarship awards and saw I believe it was 25 community scholarships awardees, and that has grown significantly. This year I saw that number quadruple to almost 100 being allocated, a little less take-up than we anticipated. But seeing that growth, seeing the growth in the number of applications, seeing the quality of the students has been quite rewarding and has encouraged even more investment in the community scholarship program.
Today we had a wonderful opportunity to present to very deserving students and indeed families bursaries, to support their educational advancement. And this is a very proud moment for us because we've been able to award to our employee students, 75 of them totally, scholarship bursaries. And in addition to that, we were able to provide bursaries for students of parents within the communities that we operate, a total of 65. What we've done here today is actually a threefold increase on what we did last year. And we had planned for it to be fourfold. But it's a start. And next year we'll be also pursuing getting more students involved and providing them this bursary, which will open opportunity for them in furthering their education.
What technology has done, technology has eliminated barriers. So somebody can stay right here in Jamaica and develop a solution to a problem and put it on a global platform easily and earn foreign exchange for it. That's what the technology has done. So when you think of your horizons are not confined to Jamaica or the Caribbean. You have a responsibility to do not just your teachers and your parents proud, but to do Jerry and nephew proud, because they are making an investment in you. The best example you can set is to strive for excellence so that Jerry and nephew can say, the money we have invested has borne fruit. So go out, change Jamaica. We want Jamaica to be a better place, a place that all of you can grow up, live in, feel comfortable in. The future is in your hands. Use this opportunity to take advantage of it.
One award in particular honors a woman who's very dear to J. Ray Nephew Limited.
Joyce Pence is an icon in and of herself. Here it is, we have a female, the first female master blender in this world. One in several billion people. And she is one of us. She's a daughter of Jamaica. And she has excelled so much in her field of work. And it is fitting, we think, that the STEM scholarships that follows suit in the vein of science, because that's her forte. And to let both males and females, and in particular females, because we feel particularly motivated for that, to stand up and take their place in society. So we're using this as a vehicle to promote that, to promote the sciences, and to promote those of us who have that strong interest in science to pursue their preferred field of studies. And that only augurs well for our country.
I'm recipient of the Joyce Pence STEM Award, which is STEM stands for Science, Technology, Engineering and Mathematics. I want to thank the Jerry and Neville Foundation for giving me this opportunity to pursue my dream, my passion, and I will continue to make use of this opportunity and try to be as successful in life as I possibly can. Thank you.
Words cannot express how much I thank the J. Ray Neville Foundation for allowing me this opportunity to go one step further towards furthering my education.
I'd just like to thank GWN Foundation for providing me with this scholarship. My mother being a single parent, sending me and my brother to UWI. It can get really expensive sometimes, and this is a major help in the rule of our life.
We would want to thank the JWN Foundation for this scholarship. It really will be a head start for my daughter's educational fund in going to Hampton this year.
I want to thank JWN's Foundation for the scholarship because my school fee is a lot and it will help the financial burden.
So I'm the first tertiary scholarship recipient. That was back in 2014. My journey was actually by surprise with Miss Bogues. She was the senior executive officer at the time, and we had a meeting and she discussed. I wrote a letter basically, and I said to her that I was having difficulty financing tertiary education, and I was having a benefit concert, playing a benefit concert for the time. It was dubbed Music for Medicine. And she loved the idea, and she said, "Oh, entrepreneuristic," if that's a word. And she applauded me. And after that, I heard from her, and she said I was awarded with a scholarship. And I was surprised. I was like, really? So I made this happen. I'm the reason why tertiary students are receiving scholarships now, so I feel proud of myself for that.
It's alright to crawl before you walk. It's alright to walk before you run. But if you gotta get what you never got, gotta do some things that you never done. Go get, come on. Go get your blessing. Go get it. It's your time, yeah. It's your time. Listen. You've been qualified, but His mercy multiplied. You cannot be denied, cause you finally certified. It's official, go ahead and testify. He's gonna bless you, you gonna bless Him. God be glorified. Say, go get it, go get it, go get your blessing.
Coming up on Caring Hands.
In the end, you can't really make a separation between communities and companies.
Your business matters. Business Access TV offers you the most innovative and effective advertising solution for your business, specializing in B2B sales, cost-effective solutions, the customers you want, the repetition you need. No matter the size and nature of your company, your business matters.
Call us at 876-291-6233 or 876-376-4225. Email sales@batvja.com.
I started out selling out of the trunk of my car.
If everybody think the same way, everybody going in the same line.
Being an entrepreneur takes everything that you've got.
Weekends? What's weekends? We work on a weekend.
There are real opportunities everywhere you look.
But you have to have the passion.
If I do my part well, then everything is okay.
We believed in ourselves and our families believed in us.
Being convinced of this great opportunity, why we are all here doing what we're doing now.
In this one degree, you're able to do many things.
I think the field found me.
I'd rather work with the deceased than work with the living.
Let us open your mind to careers you've never considered.
Miniature model maker.
Game technician.
Animator.
Good job. Empowerment.
Career moves.
Anywhere money is, that's where I am.
Hello, my name is Blake Widmer. I'm the co-founder of Deaf Can Coffee. And the exposure that we had to the just general community through Business Access TV itself is awesome. It was a big deal for them, you know, having BATV come here, and we were with you guys for probably 4 hours that day. It was a long time. We really appreciate your guys' openness to recognize that, yeah, captions are important. If a deaf person's watching it, how are they gonna understand what's being said? So. Looking back is just a big boost, encouragement for our team. If you're a business or an organization that wants to have yourselves featured on BATV, or you want to do advertising with BATV, what I would tell them is that you guys listen well and you ask good questions, and that will help, at the end of the day, deliver a really good product for your business too.
Your business matters. Promote it on Business Access TV.
One of the major events on the JWN Foundation's calendar is their annual Christmas treat.
We have several other facets of involvement in community. For example, we have a Christmas treat for the community's Seaview Gardens, Waterhouse, and we do it in St. Elizabeth too. So we make sure that there is that engagement so the youth can understand the existence of these operations in their community and see that we are well-meaning and we mean good, and we're committed to that process. In those treats, we talk about the kiddies treat that we have for Christmas. We've partnered with Nestle in that regard. So we have very robust programs of engagement in the community itself. The involvement has been tremendous. I mean, we had the Christmas tree and we had well over 100 staff getting involved in the execution of the treat. And you know, charity begins at home, so we're very happy about that. In addition to that, we've had partners in some of these programs. For example, the Christmas treat again, we partnered with the Kiwanis, who helped us greatly in terms of that execution. So, you know, with GMMB, we've had Conversations for Greatness, again, a partnership where we are sub but involved with them in that.
Christmas 2016, we were able to bring onto our Christmas inspiration theme site approximately 800 children, 10-year-old. Now, these children were well behaved. We had persons lining up coming off of the buses, being very respectful, yes sir, no ma'am, and just to see the children come alive when they enter the Christmas space and receive the messages, the positive affirmation, and all the work that had gone into making the day all about them, enjoyable, empowering, reinforcing some positive values, really embrace that. And then towards the end of the day, seeing them sit on the lawn and complete their puzzles was really, really fulfilling, because we tend to give them the usual toys, dolls and so on, and we stepped away from that. We gave them puzzles because we wanted to educate while entertaining. We're going back to doing Christmas again this year. This time we are evolving the program, and so we're going to be targeting more children. We're also going to continue our message of inspiring and educating, and we can look out for more of that. It's going to be a very fun-filled day, and we're going to be bringing more resources to bear.
Of course, we also include our brands. So, for example, the White Overproof, Renevue White Overproof Rum, we had that partnership where, you know, empowerment of females. So we had a lead role there with Alicia. Ashley, you remember her as a boxer, showing how women can hold their own and can be a force to be reckoned with. So it's a holistic approach and treatment of different areas that we can make that contribution, and we are doing.
In corporate, we tend to get caught up a lot in driving the efficiencies and driving the business bottom line. So being given an opportunity to give back in a real way and influence and impact positively lives of persons around us, future leaders, persons who will shape this country, was personally rewarding. It also aligned with the vision for the foundation to impact communities and change lives. Jamaica has a lot of challenges and as many opportunities. I think the Governor General says it best when he said there's nothing wrong with Jamaica that cannot be fixed by what is right with Jamaica. That message is at the core of the activities of the Renevue Foundation. It's the self-fulfilling prophecy and the necessary partnership in order for corporations to grow. You need to have healthy environments, you need to have communities that support the endeavors, you need to have a pool of labor for a labor to pull from that's educated, committed, engaged, and productive. You will only get that by making the investment into the communities.
Absolutely important for companies to have engagements with the community. You know, in the end, you can't really make a separation between the communities and companies, in that we operate in communities. It's the communities that consume the products which we sell, and we must make sure that that is an all-inclusive engagement where we treat with communities, we get the communities involved, we have an involvement that has the interests of communities at heart, and that's what we're seeking to do. What we've elected to do is to, you know, charity begins at home, as I said before. So we've started to engage communities which are on the periphery or which we are included in. So 234 Spanish Town Road, as a case in point, you have those two communities spanning the company on either side, and we have that level of involvement there. Absolutely important. And I think going more in broader terms, it makes sense for other companies, particularly major companies, to get involved here and make sure that we're shoring up the stability of the communities that we work in. We're mapping out a 5-year plan for engagement in our communities, and that is a work in progress. We're going to ensure that we have the full involvement of the community there. There are other opportunities. For example, we have the Seaview Music Club, I think it is, that we want to have that engagement in, and work is being done on that. And of course, we're looking for any other relevant opportunities that are available to us. Again, what we want to do is to engage youth and make sure that in a very general way, we're focusing them on activities that are going to build capacity and improve their outlook and possibilities for them going forward. Obviously, we'd encourage other companies to participate, because this is not about companies winning. This is about our youth winning, if you will. So to the extent that more of us get involved, it augurs well for the youth. What I think we can do too is ensure that there is alignment and probably less repetition of the same, but more, enforcing of areas of focus. So those of us in education can align with that. And for example, that is why we've elected to engage with JMMB on their program, because it is in keeping with our overall strategy.
Your business matters. Business Access TV offers you the most innovative and effective advertising solution for your business, specializing in B2B sales, cost-effective solutions, the customers you want, the repetition you need. No matter the size and nature of your company, your business matters.
Call us at 876-291-6233 or 876-376-4225. Email sales@batvja.com.
The Good Life, your weekly dose of information on nutrition, wellness, and fitness. Discover ways to nurture your mind, body, and spirit.
In this 1 degree, you're able to do many things.
I think the field found me.
I'd rather work with the deceased than work with the living.
Let us open your mind to careers you've never considered.
Miniature model maker.
Game technician.
Animator.
With empowerment.
Career moves. Anywhere money is, that's where I am.
I'm Chris Williams, CEO for Proven. When I think of Business Access TV, 2 words come to mind: passion and performance. In the short space of time that they've been on air, has demonstrated clearly the Jamaican passion for anything that we set our minds to. They have approached television in the most creative and dynamic way, and I'm proud to see how this young station has evolved. In terms of performance, they back up what they say they're going to do. All their programs, all their packages, all their promotions are efficiently and effectively executed.